I think I didn't do anything wrong, just made a harmless joke about my husband at his office party. But now, I'm sitting here with divorce papers in my hand, wondering how everything spiraled from a bit of teasing to this. Maybe Owen was always too sensitive, or maybe I just finally had enough of walking on eggshells around him. Either way, what happened next changed everything. The company holiday party was in full swing when I decided to liven things up. Owen had been droning on to his colleagues about some boring project milestone, and honestly, I was getting tired of watching everyone's eyes glaze over. So when someone mentioned the new office equipment, I saw my chance. "Oh, Owen definitely has the smallest one at work," I said with a grin, gesturing toward his laptop. "I keep telling him size matters, but he insists it's about how you use it." The laughter was immediate and awkward. A few of Owen's co-workers chuckled nervously, while others looked uncomfortable. Owen's face went red, but I figured he was just being his usual uptight self. I mean, it was clearly about his laptop. What was the big deal? "Callie," Owen said quietly, his voice strained. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Oh, come on," I laughed, waving him off. "Don't be so serious. Everyone knows you're compensating with that fancy car anyway." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. More uncomfortable laughter rippled through the group. I felt a rush of satisfaction. Finally, I was the center of attention instead of just Owen's wife standing in the corner. These people barely acknowledged me at company events, and now they were all looking at me. Trevor Lang, one of Owen's younger colleagues, was grinning broadly. "Callie, you're hilarious. Owen never told us you were so funny." "There's a lot Owen doesn't tell you," I replied, giving Trevor a playful look. He was attractive in that confident, slightly dangerous way that Owen had never been. "I'm full of surprises." Owen grabbed my elbow gently but firmly. "Callie, seriously, can we step outside?" I rolled my eyes. "Fine, but you're being way too sensitive about this." Outside in the parking lot, Owen's composure finally cracked. "What the hell was that in there?" "What was what? I made a joke. People laughed. Isn't that what you're supposed to do at parties?" "That wasn't a joke, Callie. That was humiliating. In front of my colleagues, my boss. Do you have any idea how that looked?" I crossed my arms. "It looked like your wife has a sense of humor. Maybe you should try developing one." "A sense of humor?" Owen's voice rose. "You basically told everyone I have a small penis and then doubled down with the car comment. How is that funny?" "Oh my God, Owen. It was about your laptop. You're being paranoid." "No, Callie, it wasn't, and we both know it. The way you said it, the way everyone reacted, you knew exactly what you were doing." I felt my phone buzz with a text message. Glancing down, I saw Trevor's name. "You really know how to liven up a party. Maybe we should grab coffee sometime and you can tell me more Owen stories." I couldn't help but smile a little. Finally, someone who appreciated my wit. "Are you seriously checking your phone right now?" Owen asked, staring at me in disbelief. "It's probably just June," I lied smoothly. "Look, I'm sorry if you got embarrassed, but maybe if you weren't so boring all the time, I wouldn't have to entertain your coworkers for you." Owen went very quiet. That should have been my first warning sign. Owen only went quiet when he was really, truly angry, but I was still riding the high of Trevor's attention and the laughter from the party. "Let's just go home," Owen said finally. The drive was silent except for the radio. I kept replaying the moment in my head, the way Trevor had looked at me, the way the whole group had focused on me for once. Owen was overreacting, as usual. It was just a joke. But as we pulled into our driveway, I noticed Owen glancing at my phone screen when another text came in. I quickly turned it face down, but not before I saw his jaw tighten. That night, as Owen pretended to sleep beside me, I lay awake thinking about Trevor's smile and wondering what those coffee dates might lead to. I told myself I deserved some excitement after years of Owen's predictable routine. I had no idea Owen was lying awake too, staring at the ceiling and wondering when his wife had become someone he didn't recognize. The texting with Trevor started innocently enough, or at least, that's what I told myself. He'd send funny memes about office life. I'd respond with witty observations about corporate culture. It felt good to have someone who actually appreciated my sense of humor instead of constantly telling me I was too much or inappropriate. "You're always on that phone lately," Owen observed one evening as I giggled at another message from Trevor. We were supposed to be watching a movie with our 8-year-old daughter Lily, but I was barely paying attention to the screen. "Just chatting with June," I said automatically, not looking up. Trevor had sent a photo of a motivational poster in the break room with the caption, "Thought of you when I saw this. Bet you could come up with something funnier." "Mummy, why is Daddy sad?" Lily asked, climbing onto Owen's lap. I looked up sharply. Owen did look sad, I realized. When had that started? "Daddy's not sad, sweetheart," I said quickly. "He's just tired from work." "But you're always on your phone now," Lily continued with that brutal honesty only children possess. "And Daddy looks sad when you laugh at it." "Lily, why don't you go get ready for bed?" Owen suggested gently. "I'll come read you a story in a few minutes." After she left, Owen turned to me. "She's right, you know. You are always on your phone. And when I try to talk to you, you barely look up." "That's not true," I protested, even though my fingers were itching to respond to Trevor's latest message. "I'm just staying connected with friends. You should try it sometime instead of being such a hermit." "When did I become a hermit? I work all day, come home to spend time with my family, help with Lily's homework, do half the housework. When exactly am I supposed to be socializing?" "See? This is exactly what I mean. You're so negative about everything. No wonder I need other people to talk to." Owen stared at me for a long moment. "Other people? I thought you were texting June." "I am texting June. And other friends. God, Owen, you sound paranoid." That night, after Owen fell asleep, I crept downstairs to continue my conversation with Trevor. We'd moved beyond work jokes to more personal territory. He was telling me about his apartment, his weekend plans, asking about mine. It felt thrilling to have someone so interested in my thoughts and opinions. "Your husband doesn't know how lucky he is," Trevor texted around midnight. "Sometimes I wonder if he even notices me anymore," I replied, which wasn't entirely true, but felt dramatic and romantic in the moment. "His loss, you're the most interesting person at any party." I practically glowed reading that message. When had Owen last called me interesting? When had anyone? The next morning, Owen was quieter than usual over breakfast. Lily chatted about school while I checked my phone, smiling at Trevor's good morning text. "I called you 3 times last night," my sister June said when she called later that day. "Your phone kept going straight to voicemail." "Oh, I was busy," I said vaguely. "Busy? Doing what? You and Owen never do anything fun." "Exactly. That's the problem." June laughed. "What's that supposed to mean?" I found myself telling her about Trevor. Not everything, just that there was this guy at Owen's work who actually appreciated my humor and personality. "Good for you," June said immediately. "Owen's always been such a stick in the mud. Maybe a little male attention will remind him what he's got." "It's not about making Owen jealous," I protested, though wasn't it a little bit? "Sure it's not. But seriously, Callie, you're 34, not dead. You deserve to feel attractive and interesting." When Owen came home that evening, I was in an unusually good mood. Trevor and I had exchanged probably 50 messages throughout the day, and his attention had me feeling more confident than I had in years. "How was your day?" Owen asked, kissing my cheek. "Great, actually. Really great." He smiled, and for a moment I felt a pang of something. Guilt. But then my phone buzzed, and I couldn't help but check it. "Trevor, thinking about you. Hope you're having a good evening." Owen's smile faded as he watched me type back. You too. Wish it was more exciting here. Who are you texting? He asked directly. June, I said, not meeting his eyes. She's having drama with her boyfriend. Owen nodded, but I could see he didn't quite believe me. Later that evening, I caught him looking at our phone bill on his laptop, his brow furrowed in concentration. What are you doing? I asked. Just checking our minutes, he said casually. We've been going over lately. My heart skipped a beat. How many texts had Trevor and I exchanged? Hundreds, probably. But Owen wouldn't actually check individual numbers, would he? That would be crazy, paranoid behavior. You know what your problem is, Owen? I said, going on the offensive. You don't trust me. That's not healthy in a marriage. I want to trust you, Callie. But lately, something feels off. The only thing that's off is your imagination. But as I said it, my phone buzzed again. This time, I didn't check it until Owen left the room. Trevor had sent a photo of himself at some trendy bar downtown, looking relaxed and handsome. Wish you were here to keep me company, his message read. For the first time, I allowed myself to wonder what it would be like if I were there with him. The thought should have scared me, but instead it thrilled me. I was so focused on crafting the perfect flirty response that I didn't notice Owen standing in the doorway, watching me smile at my phone screen in a way I hadn't smiled at him in months. Lily's 8th birthday dinner was supposed to be a family celebration at Romano's, the Italian place she'd been begging to try. What I didn't expect was for Trevor to show up. I hope you don't mind, I said to Owen as Trevor approached our table. I mentioned we'd be here, and he said he was in the neighborhood. That was a lie. I'd specifically invited Trevor, telling him it would be fun for him to meet the family properly. Owen's face went tight, but he couldn't make a scene in front of Lily and both sets of grandparents. Trevor, I said brightly, standing to give him a hug that lasted just a beat too long. Everyone, this is Trevor from Owen's office. Owen's mother, Evelyn, looked skeptical as she shook Trevor's hand. My mother, Dot, smiled politely, but kept glancing between Trevor and me with a concerned expression. I brought something for the birthday girl, Trevor said, producing a beautifully wrapped present. Lily's eyes lit up. For me? But you don't even know me. Your mum talks about you all the time, Trevor said, winking at me. She's very proud of her smart, beautiful daughter. I felt a warm glow at the way he said, your mum, like we had our own special relationship, our own conversations that didn't involve Owen. That's very thoughtful, Owen said stiffly, though you really didn't need to. Oh, it's no trouble, Trevor interrupted smoothly. I love spoiling beautiful women, no matter what age they are. June, who'd arrived fashionably late, immediately perked up when she saw Trevor. Well, hello there. I'm Callie's sister. As dinner progressed, I found myself directing most of my conversation toward Trevor. He was so much more engaging than Owen, who kept trying to steer the conversation toward boring topics like Lily's school or upcoming family plans. Remember that conference in Chicago last month? I said to Trevor, completely ignoring Owen's attempt to tell his brother Mark about Lily's science project. You were telling me about that restaurant with the amazing steaks. Oh, right, Trevor grinned. You should definitely go there if you ever get to Chicago, though I guess that would depend on whether Owen likes to travel. Owen's not much of an adventurer, I said, rolling my eyes. He thinks the Olive Garden is exotic cuisine. Trevor laughed loudly while Owen's face flushed. Evelyn set down her fork with a sharp clink. I think Owen has excellent taste, she said coldly. He chose this lovely restaurant for Lily's birthday, after all. Of course he did, I said quickly, but the damage was done. The table had gone awkward and quiet. Daddy, are you okay? Lily asked, noticing Owen's expression. I'm fine, sweetheart, Owen managed, just enjoying your special dinner. But he wasn't fine, and everyone could see it. When he tried to join the conversation, I found myself cutting him off or contradicting him. When Trevor made jokes, I laughed louder than necessary. When Owen's stories fell flat, I looked embarrassed. You know what's funny? I said during dessert, emboldened by the wine and Trevor's attention. Owen was so worried about me embarrassing him at the office party, but I think I actually made it more interesting for once. Callie, Owen said quietly. What? It's true. Your co-workers probably hadn't laughed that hard in months. Trevor shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should talk about something else. Why? Because Owen can't handle a little teasing? This is exactly what I mean. He takes everything so seriously. Evelyn abruptly stood up. I think I need some air. Mum, you don't have to... Owen started. Actually, I do, she said, looking directly at me. Some things are hard to stomach. She left the restaurant, and Mark quickly excused himself to follow her. The mood at the table had completely shifted. Way to go, Callie, Owen muttered. Don't blame me because your mother can't take a joke. A joke? Owen's voice was rising despite his obvious efforts to keep it down. You've spent this entire dinner flirting with Trevor and insulting me in front of our daughter and our families. What exactly is funny about that? I wasn't flirting, I protested, though even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. Mommy? Lily's small voice cut through the tension. Can we go home now? I don't feel good. June jumped in. Owen, you're being way too sensitive. Callie was just having fun. Fun? Owen stared at her. At whose expense? Oh, please. June rolled her eyes. If you can't handle your wife being charming and social, that's your problem. Trevor cleared his throat. Maybe I should go. I didn't mean to cause any... You didn't cause anything, I said quickly, putting my hand on his arm. Some people just can't handle when others enjoy themselves. The look Owen gave me was unlike anything I'd ever seen from him. It wasn't anger or hurt. It was something colder, like he was seeing me clearly for the first time and didn't like what he saw. The ride home was silent except for Lily's quiet sniffling in the back seat. When we got home, she ran straight to her room. I should go check on her, I said. No, Owen said firmly. I'll do it. You've done enough tonight. While Owen was upstairs with Lily, I texted Trevor. Sorry about tonight. Owen gets weird around family sometimes. His response took longer than usual. Maybe we should cool it for a while. I don't want to cause problems in your marriage. Problems in my marriage? What problems? Owen was just being his usual oversensitive self. But as I sat alone in our living room, I couldn't shake the image of Lily's confused, upset face or the way Evelyn had looked at me before she left. When Owen came back downstairs, he sat across from me instead of beside me on the couch. Callie, he said quietly, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. My heart started racing. Okay. Is something going on between you and Trevor? I forced myself to laugh. Are you serious? Owen, he's your co-worker. We barely know each other. That's not what it looked like tonight, or at the office party, or any time his name comes up. You're being paranoid. Am I? He leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're having an emotional affair with my colleague while humiliating me in front of our friends and family. That's ridiculous, I said, but my voice sounded shaky even to me. Owen studied my face for a long moment. I hope you're right, he said finally, because if you're not, if you're lying to me right now, there will be consequences. Something in his tone made me shiver. This wasn't the Owen I knew, the one who backed down from confrontation, who let me have my way to keep the peace. This Owen sounded like he meant business, but I was in too deep to back down now. The only consequence will be you destroying our marriage with your jealousy and paranoia. Owen nodded slowly. We'll see. Meeting Trevor at his apartment felt like crossing a line I'd been dancing around for weeks. I told Owen I was working late. Another lie to add to the growing collection. Trevor's place was everything Owen wasn't. Sleek, modern, with expensive furniture and no family photos cluttering the surfaces. No evidence of responsibility or commitment, just pure adult freedom. I wasn't sure you'd actually come, Trevor said, pouring me a glass of wine, that probably cost more than Owen and I usually spent on groceries. I needed to get out of the house, I admitted. Owen's been impossible lately, constantly questioning me, checking up on me. It's suffocating. That doesn't sound healthy, Trevor said, sitting close enough that I could smell his cologne. You deserve better than that. It felt so good to hear someone say that. When had Owen last told me I deserved better? When had he last made me feel special or desired? He thinks something's going on between us, I said, taking a large sip of wine. Trevor's hand found mine. Is there? The question hung in the air between us. I knew the right answer. The answer that would save my marriage, protect my daughter, keep my family intact. But looking at Trevor, feeling attractive and wanted for the first time in years, I couldn't bring myself to say it. Instead, I leaned in and kissed him. What followed was everything my marriage had stopped being. Passionate, exciting, spontaneous. For 2 hours, I forgot about Owen's hurt looks, Lily's confused questions, and Evelyn's disapproving stares. I felt alive again. But driving home, reality crept back in. I'd actually done it now. I'd crossed the line from emotional affair to physical betrayal. The guilt should have been overwhelming, but instead I felt relieved, like I'd finally admitted something to myself that had been true for a long time. Owen was waiting up when I got home, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a familiar expression of patient disappointment. How was work? He asked. Fine. Long day. The lies were getting easier. Funny thing, Owen continued conversationally. I called your office around 7 to see if you wanted me to pick up dinner. They said you'd left at 5:30. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay calm. I stopped by June's on the way home. She's having issues with her boyfriend again. Right, June. Owen nodded. The same June who called here at 8 looking for you because you weren't answering your phone. I felt trapped, caught in a web of my own lies. My phone died. I didn't realize she'd called. Owen just looked at me. Your phone's at 30%, Callie. I charged it in the car. For 10 minutes? This was getting ridiculous. Why was Owen suddenly acting like a detective? What is this, an interrogation? I'm your wife, not a suspect. Are you? Owen asked quietly. Am I what? My wife, because the woman I married wouldn't lie to my face about where she's been. She wouldn't humiliate me in public or carry on with my co-worker. I'm not carrying on with anyone. The protest came out too loud, too defensive. Then why do you smell like cologne? Cologne I don't wear? I hadn't thought about that. Trevor's expensive scent was probably all over me. I don't know what you're talking about. Owen stood up slowly. I've been trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, Callie. Trying to believe that my wife, the mother of my child, wouldn't betray our family like this, but you're making it really hard. I haven't betrayed anyone. You're being crazy and controlling, and I'm sick of it. Controlling? For wanting to know where my wife is at 9 o'clock at night, for noticing that she's constantly texting another man and lying about it. I don't know what you think you know, but I know that you've sent over 300 text messages to Trevor's number in the past month. Owen interrupted. I know that you've been to his apartment building 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Your car's GPS doesn't lie, even if you do. I know that you've been telling people at work that I'm controlling and boring and that you're unhappy in our marriage. The blood drained from my face. You've been spying on me. I've been trying to save my marriage, but I'm starting to think there's nothing left to save. Owen, listen. No, you listen. His voice was steel now. I've spent weeks hoping I was wrong, that my wife wasn't having an affair with my colleague. But I can't pretend anymore. I can't keep letting you make a fool of me. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. Owen walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a manila folder I hadn't noticed before. 312 text messages, GPS records showing repeated visits to his address, credit card charges at restaurants you claimed you never went to, and tonight, lying about working late when you were actually at his apartment. I stared at the folder, feeling sick. You had me followed. I didn't need to. You weren't exactly being subtle. Owen, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been lying to me for months. How you've been humiliating me in front of my colleagues and our families. How you've been putting our daughter through this while you play house with Trevor. Don't bring Lily into this. You brought Lily into this the moment you decided to blow up our family for some excitement. Owen's voice cracked slightly. Do you have any idea what this is going to do to her? For the first time, I felt a real stab of guilt. Lily, who was already asking why Daddy looked sad, why Mommy was always on her phone. What would happen to her when all this came out? It doesn't have to affect her, I said desperately. We can work this out. Go to counselling or something. Owen laughed, but there was no humour in it. Counselling? Callie, you're still lying to me right now. Even with all the evidence spread out on this table, you're still trying to convince me that I'm imagining things. I'm not. You were at Trevor's apartment tonight. You had sex with him, and you came home and lied to my face about it. Owen's voice was deadly quiet. That's not a marriage counsellor problem. That's a lawyer problem. The word lawyer hit me like a physical blow. You don't mean that. Owen picked up a business card from the table and handed it to me. I have a consultation tomorrow at 10. I stared at the card. Henderson, Walsh and Associates, Family Law, and felt my world tilting. Owen, you're being dramatic. People get through this. We can get through this. No, Callie, we can't. Because you're not sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. He was right, and we both knew it. Even now, part of me was thinking about Trevor, about the way he'd made me feel, about when I might see him again. What about Lily? I asked weakly. What about her? You should have thought about Lily before you decided to have an affair. You can't take her away from me. I'm not taking her anywhere, but I'm not going to let her grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like. She deserves better than watching her mother destroy her family. Owen headed toward the stairs, then turned back. By the way, Trevor's been avoiding me at work all week. Apparently, he's not as committed to this relationship as you thought. Funny how that works. As Owen's footsteps faded up the stairs, I sat alone with the evidence of my betrayal spread across the kitchen table. For the first time since this all started, I wondered if I'd made a terrible mistake. But it was too late for wondering. Owen had made his decision, and tomorrow, everything would change. The law office of Henderson, Walsh and Associates was nothing like I'd expected. Clean, professional, intimidating. I'd brought June for moral support, but she seemed as out of place as I felt in the marble-floored lobby. This is so dramatic, June whispered as we waited. Owen's really going nuclear over some harmless flirting. I hadn't told her about sleeping with Trevor. Somehow, saying it out loud would make it too real. Owen arrived precisely on time with a thick folder and a grim expression. He nodded politely to June, but didn't even look at me. Mrs. Vane? A sharp-dressed woman in her 50s appeared. I'm Patricia Henderson. Shall we get started? The conference room felt like a courtroom. Patricia sat across from me with Owen beside her, while June and I huddled on the other side of the polished table. Let's be direct, Patricia began. Mr. Vane has provided substantial documentation of infidelity, text messages, GPS records, witness statements, photographic evidence. This is quite comprehensive. She slid a stack of papers toward me. My own words stared back at me. Flirty texts to Trevor, lies I'd told Owen, complaints I'd made about my marriage to anyone who would listen. This is invasion of privacy, June protested. He can't just spy on his wife. Actually, he can, Patricia replied calmly. GPS tracking on a jointly owned vehicle, phone records for a shared account, and documentation of a spouse's whereabouts are all legal. Mr. Vane was very careful to stay within legal boundaries. I felt sick looking at the evidence. There was so much of it. Months of lies and betrayal laid out in black and white. What do you want? I asked Owen directly. Joint custody with primary residence for Lily, he said without hesitation. You can have her every other weekend and one evening per week, supervised until we see how you handle the transition. Supervised? I stood up. She's my daughter. She's our daughter, Owen corrected, and your recent behavior shows poor judgment. I'm not comfortable leaving her alone with you until you prove you can put her needs first. That's ridiculous. I'm a good mother. Patricia consulted her notes. According to Mr. Vane's documentation, you've left Lily with babysitters or him on 17 occasions in the past month to meet with your friend. You've been distracted and emotionally unavailable. You've exposed her to inappropriate conflict during family gatherings. I never exposed her to anything inappropriate. You brought your affair partner to her birthday dinner, Owen said quietly. You humiliated me in front of her. She's been asking why Daddy's sad and why Mommy's always on her phone. How is that not exposing her? I had no answer for that. As for financial arrangements, Patricia continued, Mr. Vane is willing to pay minimal spousal support for 2 years, given the circumstances of the marriage's end. Minimal? June jumped in. Callie's been a housewife. She needs support. Mrs. Vane works part-time and is perfectly capable of full-time employment, Patricia replied. Given her adultery, she's lucky to receive anything at all. This is punishment, I said desperately. You're punishing me. No, Owen said, speaking directly to me for the first time. This is consequences. There's a difference. I made a mistake, Owen. People make mistakes. You made a choice, Callie. Every text message, every lie, every time you went to his apartment, those were choices, and choices have consequences. Patricia slid another document across the table. This is a temporary separation agreement. You have 48 hours to review it with your own attorney, though I should mention that Mr. Vane's evidence makes this fairly straightforward. I stared at the papers, feeling my life crumbling. What if I don't sign? Then we go to court and everything becomes public record, Patricia said matter-of-factly. Your text messages, the affair, all of it. Mr. Vane prefers to handle this discreetly for Lily's sake, but he's prepared to go public if necessary. You'd really do that? I asked Owen. Drag our private business through court? You made our private business public the moment you started telling people about our marriage problems and carrying on with my coworker, Owen replied. I'm offering you a chance to end this with some dignity and tact. After we left the law office, June was furious. He's being a complete bastard about this. It's not like you killed someone. But I barely heard her. I kept thinking about Lily, about how confused and scared she must be, about Owen's calm, determined expression, about Trevor, who hadn't returned my calls since the night at his apartment. That evening, I tried calling Trevor again. This time, the call went straight to voicemail, not just unanswered, but actively rejected. Trevor, it's me. Please call me back. Owen's filing for divorce, and I really need to talk to you about what happens next. For us, I mean. Call me. But he didn't call back. When I drove by his apartment, his car wasn't there. When I checked his social media, I found myself blocked. The man I'd destroyed my marriage for had disappeared the moment things got complicated. Sitting in my car outside his empty apartment, I finally understood what Owen had been trying to tell me. This wasn't love or passion or excitement. This was just selfishness and poor judgment, and now I was facing the consequences alone. I signed the separation papers the next day. The courthouse was smaller than I'd imagined. No grandeur, no cinematic drama, just beige walls, fluorescent lights, and the faint smell of disinfectant. Somehow that made it worse. Realer. 6 months since I'd signed the separation agreement, and now the marriage was being buried for good. Owen sat across the aisle, calm, collected, surrounded by his family. My own mother was beside me, silent and disappointed. Even June, who had once defended me, looked weary of the whole thing. When the hearing began, my lawyer tried to argue for leniency, for balance, for a second chance. The judge didn't buy it. Owen's attorney laid everything out again. Every message, every lie, every choice, that proved I'd valued Trevor's attention over my own family. When the recording of my daughter's small voice describing Mommy crying and Daddy leaving was read aloud, I couldn't even lift my head. "Mrs. Vane," Judge Morrison said, "do you dispute any of this?" I wanted to tell her I'd been lonely. I wanted to tell her I'd been drowning in routine, but all of that sounded so small now. "No, Your Honor." The verdict came quickly. Owen received primary custody, joint legal rights, and the house. I got unsupervised visitation every other weekend and Wednesday evenings, minimal spousal support, 18 months to get back on my feet. Then, the line that would echo in my head for years. "Actions have consequences, Mrs. Vane. I hope you make better ones for your daughter's sake." Outside, Owen's family gathered around him like a protective wall. He glanced at me once, expression unreadable, and walked away. The pity hurt more than the anger ever did. Driving back to my small apartment, I passed our old house. Lily's bike was in the yard, the curtains glowing soft yellow. I could almost see Owen reading to her at bedtime, his steady voice filling the space where mine used to be. The divorce papers sat on the passenger seat. A single signature had turned me into a visitor in my own child's life. I'd traded years of safety, love, and belonging for one night with a man who never called again. I'd mistaken excitement for meaning, attention for love, and now I understood the difference too late. Owen hadn't been boring. He'd been constant, grounded, the kind of man who showed up. I was the one who'd been small, restless, selfish, always reaching for something more, until I lost everything that actually mattered. Now, every other weekend, I get a few precious hours to pretend the damage isn't permanent. But when Wednesday nights end, and the silence of my apartment settles in, the truth is always waiting. I made this bed of absence myself, and now I have to sleep in it. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.